In the previous section, as we learned to calculate the total interest paid for a 30-year or a 15-year note, you may have been surprised to learn really how much of your money goes to covering the interest on a loan. So in this section, we're going to talk about how to avoid the very high cost of interest with an early payoff calculator. While it is usually best to mortgage a home over the shortest term possible, we learned 15 years is way better than 30 years. It can also be wise to finance a home with the longer term simply to provide a margin in your monthly budget to make room for unexpected expenses and emergencies. For example, if you max out your monthly budget in order to cover a very high house payment and then some sort of emergency occurs, then you are stuck between a rock and a hard place trying to cover those expenses. However, if you have some wiggle room in your monthly budget, but then you are disciplined to pay that 30-year note as if it is a 15-year note, then you will pay it off in the same amount of time. You will avoid lots of interest, but then you'll still have that option to pay the lower payment if necessary. Online mortgage payoff calculators, such as the two sites that I have listed here on your notes, can help you to determine how to pay off a home or car early. So let's look at example 3, and we're going to experiment with these online payoff calculators. Suppose you borrowed $12,500 to buy a car financed for 5 years at 4.7%. Calculate your monthly payment. Now, we're talking about now a car loan, but recall that the formula for calculating the payment on a car loan is the same as the formula for calculating the payment on a home. So let's plug in our details. The loan is $12,500. The rate we'll type in as 0.047. We're looking at monthly payments, so N is 12. And T, the term or the time for the loan, is 5 years. So let's enter this into our calculator and determine what our monthly payment would be. Okay, here we go. Our monthly payment would be $234.18. Suppose that after 1 year of monthly payments, that you decide to add $50 per month to your loan payment. Now, when you do that, you are paying down the principal. So if I add $50 per month, that means that that extra $50 is going to go directly to reducing my principal. And the faster the principal reduces, the interest that I owe also reduces. So what we're going to do is go to this bank rate early payoff calculator website, and I'm going to show you how does that affect your loan if you decide to add $50 per month to your payment. So here's what the website looks like. Again, this is at bankrate.com, a mortgage payoff calculator. But again, because car loans are the same as home loans, we can use this calculator and get the same mathematics. So we have a 5-year loan, and remember, we're 1 year into it, and so we have 4 years remaining. The original mortgage or the original loan value was a 5-year note. We borrowed $12,500. So let's get that entered, $12,500. And we are going to add $50 to our payment. So I'm going to type that in right here. And the rate of interest for this particular loan was 4.7%. Observe that on this calculator, we're entering the rate as a percent, not as a decimal. So let's go ahead and calculate how this affects our loan. So observe here in the bottom left corner, it says our current payment is $234.18. That's exactly what we calculated with the formula. Our accelerated payment is $284 approximately. We're adding $50 to our monthly payment. Now I'm going to click View Report here, and you can see exactly how this affects our loan. Our mortgage repayment will be shortened by 9 months. By increasing our mortgage payment $50 per month, we not only shorten our mortgage, but we will also save $193 in interest. So that's really fascinating. Now, I do have to tell a story, share a story of a student that I had in the past. We were studying this, we were talking about how to pay your loans off early, and she actually went to the bank and she added $50 per month to her car payment, and she set herself up to pay her car off early. And she came back and she told me about it, and I was so proud of her for taking the knowledge that she had learned and converting it into wisdom and putting it into practice that I gave her extra points on the test. Now, I can't promise that to everyone, but I do hope that you will consider this as you manage your finances out there. Let's try another example. Let's go from a car loan to a home loan. Suppose that you borrowed $120,000 to buy a home, and you financed it for 30 years at 4.125%. Let's go ahead and see what your monthly payment would be. So I'm going to keep an eye on this formula up here. This is the same formula that we've been using for the last couple of sections. We're going to plug in our information. So $120,000, we're going to assume that's how much we borrowed. The rate is 4.125, so we plug that in as 0.4125. We're making monthly payments, so N is 12. We have exponent negative n, which is 12, times t, the term of the loan, which in this case is 30 years. So let's calculate our house payment. Now remember, as we're typing this in, the result is only going to give us the amount that we pay for principal and interest. We want to keep in mind there's other costs, homeowners insurance, real estate taxes, that sort of thing added on to our payment. So this is how much goes to the loan. We're going to make 360 payments, 12 times per year for 30 years, and that payment is $581.58. Now, just a quick calculation of the total interest we're going to pay for this home. If we take this $581.58 and we pay that 12 times a year for 30 years, then the total cost of our loan is around $209,000. If I subtract the actual amount that I borrowed, $120,000, this means that approximately $89,000 is going to pay interest alone. And again, that's a scary thought. So how do I reduce that big charge for interest? Well, let's suppose that 6 years into our loan, we've gotten stable, we're in a rhythm, we're paying our bills, and we've got some margin in our monthly budget. 6 years into your loan, you decide to add $100 to your monthly payment. Remember, when we do that, it goes directly to the principal and reduces our debt and also reduces the amount of interest that we pay. So 6 years into the loan, we're going to add $100 to our monthly payment each month. Let's further suppose that you decide to put your annual tax return, let's say every year you get a tax return of like $1,000, or this could be a Christmas bonus or some sort of regular windfall that you get per year. Let's suppose you put this $1,000 towards your mortgage each year in May. We're going to use this second website, which not only calculates how much interest you would save for adding a little bit to your payment, like the first website we looked at, but also what happens if I do a one-time lump sum payment, or if I decide to add $1,000 once per year. So let's take a look at this website. So this is at mortgagecalculator.org. We're going to plug in the details of our loan, and we're going to also overlook some of the extra details they have here. The home value, we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to focus on the loan. The loan amount for this house was $120,000, and remember, we are experimenting with a 4.125% interest rate. The loan term is 30 years, and let's suppose that the start date of our mortgage is June of 2020, okay? Or you know what, let's put it a year ago, because we're going to say 1 year into our payment, we're going to decide to add this extra value to our monthly payments, okay? So let's suppose we started our loan a year ago. So here's what the website looks like. We're at mortgagecalculator.org. We're going to add extra to our monthly payment and also extra to our yearly payment. So this particular calculator can also incorporate some additional aspects, but we're just going to focus on the loan. So let's not enter the home value. Let's just focus on the loan. The loan that we are experimenting with here is $120,000. And we are looking at a 4.125 rate of interest. We've got a 30-year loan, and let's just suppose that the start date of the mortgage is June of 2020. That's the default here. Now, again, I'm not going to put information in for these other boxes. We just want to focus on the loan for our purposes here. Okay, so we are going to add $100 to our payment once a month, and we're going to start this, let's say, 6 years into our loan. So if our loan began in 2020, then in 2026 we're going to start adding these $100 to our monthly payment. And we're going to do that for the duration of the loan. So the remaining, I don't know how many months that is, I'm just going to put in 360 and it'll cut it off. Now, we're also going to take our annual tax return. Remember, we're saying our windfall of $1,000. We're going to do that once a year in May. So we're going to get our tax return back. We're going to start this, remember, 6 years into our loan. So we're going to start that in 2026, and we're going to do that throughout the term of the loan. So we will end this May of, if we started in 2020 and we are looking at a 30-year loan, we'll just put 2050 here. And again, it'll cut it off for us at the right time. And then we will calculate how this affects our loan. So we're going to scroll down here to get the report. Notice our monthly payment is $581.58. That's exactly what we calculated by hand. The original mortgage is going to charge $89,000 plus in interest. And notice over here on the right side, by adding our extra payments, the total interest we pay reduces to $65,000. Instead of the year 2050 being our payoff date, the year is 2042. So we've shaved 8 years of payments off of our loan simply by adding $100 a month. The total amount paid for the original mortgage, $209,000 approximately. With our extra payments, it's only $185,000. So we will have saved $23,000 by being diligent in adding that extra $100 to our payment. You know, that gets really interesting when you set up experiments like this. Maybe you have a car loan that you could do this with. Maybe you have a home loan. And you could say, well, what if I could afford an extra $200 towards my house per month? How would that change it? Well, we would be paid off instead of May 2050, we'd be paid off in 2039. It's going to shave time off. It's going to save us about $30,000. So one strategy for avoiding that astronomical amount of interest that you may pay on a car or a home loan is maybe you take out the longer term loan, but then you pay it as if it's a 15-year mortgage. And then you still have that possibility of those months where there is some sort of emergency. And then that particular month, you don't send in the extra $100. You use that to cover your kiddo's ER appointment or something like that. But then when things are good, you can pay that extra, you can shave time off your mortgage, and you can save a lot in interest. So I hope that you also take this knowledge and convert it into wisdom and get out there and manage your finances well.